Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ha, Rocha, Chodash, Ma'amath. I want to give a double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders, as well as their bishops. I want to give a double honors to my elder apostle, Aharawan Banya Sharala of the Lions Den camp here in Jacksonville, Florida, as well as the bishop of this camp, Kanaksa An Banya Sharala, also of the Lions Den camp here in Jacksonville, Florida, as well. Double honors to him as well. Shalom to the sincere Akim, pushing his truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. I'm Nakar Harab Ban Yasharallah, coming out of the Lions Den camp from Yasharallah, located here in Jacksonville, Florida. And today I'll be coming out a lesson, and this was on this article, and this was put in the group chat by the Bishop Kanak of this camp, and it says here, President Xi called U.S. a declining nation, and Trump says it falls squarely on the 4 years of sleepy Joe Biden. See, that's this devil trying to blame shift, deflection, which is a common tactic that they do. The truth of the matter is, it was declining when Biden was in, and it's even more in a decline state now that Trump is in. So nothing has changed really, except the ruling parties from Democrat to Republican. That's really the only thing that's truly changed. Oh yeah, and gas prices and stuff like that. You know, the fact that they're in a skirmish or in a war, proxy war, whatever you want to call it, over there in the East, unmerited, unprovoked. So so there's some things that's different, but most of the part is still in a declining state. Babylon is still in a declining state. Period. So we're gonna read a little bit of this article and get a couple of scriptures. And I'm gonna be editing while I'm reading because it's just how they write these articles, and they probably using AI. People ain't writing articles like they used to. But let's continue. It's not the hit nor there. It says President Trump has shared his perspective, Salakia, in regarding recent comments from Chinese President Xi Jinping, directly linking the Chinese leader's description of a declining nation to the policies of the previous administration. Didn't he undo all of those things? So now guess what? The ball is in his court, but let's continue. This is the Hill Report. It says, in a post on Truth Social, the president offered a pointed critique of the recent past while framing the current state of the United States in a much more positive light. This exchange occurred as the two leaders convened in Beijing for a high-stakes bilateral meeting. Well, it was something else that people didn't pay attention to. When Trump went over there, he also took all the major tech giants over here in Babylon with him, because China is really the template for the new system. That deals with monetary gain. But let's continue. It says, when President Xi elegantly referred to the United States as being a declining nation, he was referring to the tremendous damage. He said, I guess this is Trump talking, that we suffered during the 4 years of sleepy Joe Biden and the Biden administration. No, President Xi is talking about the current administration right now. So, there's just this double blame shifting, deflecting. Oh no, it wasn't me. It was the people before me. No, you came up in their stead. So it's on you. But let's continue. It says he was 100% correct. The post just, and this is just plausible deniability. Like, this devil know the president of China was talking about his administration, how things are going, because the way it's going now is causing problems for everybody around the four corners of the earth, all of these nations. And when Biden was in there, I like to say Bo Jiden, that's what I used to call him. Just flip the letters of his names around. But anyway, gas prices weren't going up. They wasn't over there in the East fighting. They didn't go and attack Venezuela and take all their crude oil You know, this didn't happen on the Biden administration's watch. It happened on the Trump administration's watch. So who was really to blame? But nonetheless, even when Biden was in there, it was still declining. He was really running damage control. And when Trump got in, guess what? It caused even more of a decline. They're fighting a losing war, and that war that they're fighting is trying to get Babylon America back up the way it used to be. And the Lord said that ain't gonna happen. If you read the scriptures, that's not happening. So we're gonna see further decline. We are literally witnessing firsthand this place becoming a third world country. But if you look at the ins and the outs and how things have been running, it's been a third world country. It's just the effects of it got to catch up. But people are still in this matrix mindset. They ain't unplugged. They still think this place got something to offer. They don't. It don't. But let's continue. It says he continued by listing several specific areas of concern that he believes contributed to this perceived decline. According to the president, the country suffered immeasurably with open borders, high taxes, and I ain't got time for that. Y'all see the word right there. And everybody, man, yeah, you go with all this agenda crap, and that's all part of the grand scheme of things. It's all part of the grand scheme of things. It is there. But let's continue. And, you know, he hit on a point right there. But let's continue. You know what I'm saying? It says while Trump did not cite it. How long is it lucky? Oh well, I just move it over here. Anyways, but it says that Trump did not cite a specific moment where these comments were delivered. The discussion follows remarks made by President Xi during the opening session of their meeting. Of course, and the president of China is not dumb. He's just not stupid. It's not. They try to paint him like you don't know what's going on. He knows very well what's going on. You know, these world leaders, you know, a lot of them are not stupid. They're actually very intelligent people. And you can see by how, first off, how they carry themselves, and then secondly, how they respond when they have to do these meetings and addresses. When you look at Trump, I didn't mean to say his name, but whatever. Look at these other nations and how their presidents and or leaders represent themselves and their country versus how the leaders here in Babylon represent this place. There's a clear distinction. But let's continue. And it says President Xi questioned whether the two nations could navigate the so-called I just looked this word up earlier. I think it's Thucydides, Thucydides. That's what it is. Thucydides trap. It's basically, I looked into it. It's just basically. You know what? Let's just go right here real quick. Hold on. It's like. See, it says the Thucydides trap is an international relations theory stating that when an emerging power threatens to displace an established power or great power, the resulting structural stress, so like it makes violent conflict between them highly, often inevitably likely. So there you go. So because these other nations are now becoming stronger, you can look at Amos. Oh no, let me see. Let me make sure it's Amos. Why? Yeah, Amos chapter 3. Joel Salaki, not Amos, but Joel chapter 3 Salaki. You know, when he says let the weak say I'm strong. I'll just read it. But anyways, this is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." So that's what's going on. So that's what's going on. Proclaim this among the Gentiles, these other heathen nations. Wake up and prepare for war. Get ready. And that's what's going on with that Thucydides trap thing. These other nations are becoming more powerful. So guess what? The once established power has to worry about said challengers per se, because any other power, this devil's like any other power other than Babylon. Oh, the world ain't gonna run right. Now, the way people see what's going on, the world ain't running right because of Babylon and because of who ruling. So now these other nations are beating their plowshares and the swords and their pruning hooks into spears. They're getting ready. They're preparing for war. They're preparing weapons. And these nations that were once looked at as weak are now saying, "No, we strong now," because they now have, we're gonna say, WMD capabilities, and they're stockpiling. But let's continue. But it says President Xi questioned whether the two nations could navigate this so-called Thucydides trap. This concept, which has been a part of the international discourse since the early 2010s or 2010s, whatever, suggests that when a raising power begins to threaten the position of an established power, the risk of war becomes significantly higher. I mean, it is what it is. This is the term itself is derived from an ancient Athenian historian, Thucydides, who famously noted in his work, History of the Peloponnesian War, that the rise of Athens and the fear it created in Sparta made conflict inevitable. This devil just don't like to have his power challenged, but the truth of the matter is he don't have real power, because the Lord gave this devil his power. The Lord says in Job 9:24 that the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. If not, where and who is he? If this devil ain't the wicked, then who is the wicked that's running the world? Who? You know? And I think another one, I think I don't know, I think it's in Acts, if I'm not mistaken, it says he shall, let me see, it says here. He shall not be strengthened by his own power, even though that was talking about Antiochus and the Lord raising this devil up. This devil still is not strong by his own power, meaning this devil didn't rise with the power of his own volition. He didn't come to power of his own strength and his own will like he would like to think and or believe. You know what? But I just quoted it real quick. But let's continue. It says the modern application of this theory is often credited to Harvard University political scientist. In his book, he destined for war. He says, can America and China escape the Thucydides trap? So they weren't about just China, but China's part of a bigger conglomerate, which is the BRICS. So you got to worry about all those nations, because all those nations have come into significant power. And some of those nations within that joined it so that they could become stronger. But continuing, it says Allison examined 16 historical instances where a rising power challenged a ruling power. His research found that 12 of these rivalries resulted in war, while 4 managed to avoid direct conflict. It's inevitable. The Lord said it was going to happen in the scriptures, so war is going to happen. Go back to Joel. The Lord is gathering these nations over in the valley of Jehoshaphat. He said he was going to do it. He said he was going to do it. Joel chapter 3 verse 2. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So war is inevitable. You go to Revelation, go to the New Testament. The second war is past, the third war coming quickly. Let's grab it. Let's go right on to it. Revelation, what this says, 11 and 14. The second war is past. World War II is past already. Who was the rising power in World War II? America. They started World War II. But the second war is past, and behold, the third war cometh quickly. What that is, the third war. That's the third war. That's the Battle of Armageddon. So war is inevitable. It's going to happen. Because the Lord said it was going to happen. From the Old Testament to the New Testament, He said it's going to happen. But let's continue. A notable example of a peaceful resolution mentioned in his work includes the period after the Cold War, where Germany chose to focus on economic expansion rather than military development. Despite the historical weight of its concept, President Xi's inquiry about creating a new paradigm for major country relations signals the gravity of the current diplomatic environment and the way things are going with this current administration. It ain't gonna be no peaceful conflict. It ain't gonna be no peaceful resolution, because it says in the scriptures again, when they shall say peace and safety, or peace, peace, then that's when sudden destruction is gonna come. Judgment is gonna happen. There's no getting around it. But let's continue. It says, in his social media commentary, the president took the opportunity to contrast the current administration's performance with the previous one. He asserted that the Chinese leader was not talking about the progress seen during his own tenure. That's exactly what the Chinese leader, President Xi, was talking about. It says, in fact, President Xi congratulated me on so many tremendous successes in a short period of time. 2 years ago, yeah, and it says they were a nation in decline. See, how you gonna say no and then admit that it is or it was? That's how you know this devil. But you know, you can't trust President Babylon, because he's a compulsive, pathological liar. So you can't really trust that. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, nah, because these other nations really don't like, the current administration. They really don't. But let's continue. And it says, he expressed the confidence in the current trajectory of the country, stating how the United States is the hottest nation anywhere in the world, and hopefully, that ain't finna go that way. You know what I'm saying? You can't trust this dude, because like he done had to walk back so many times on things he said. So it's like you gotta take what he say with a grain of salt. But he does he can control the market with a tweet. He can do that. Oh, we're gonna do this, and the market either go up or go down. So you know what I'm saying? So he got some power. He do. You know what I'm saying? But I guess he's still talking. But I'm gonna just again, this is the topic of Taiwan is still a sensitive topic. It's an undercurrent through these meetings. Chinese officials have labeled Taiwan an important issue in the relationship between the two countries. The bilateral discussions, I guess they had Thursday, President Xi communicated that the entire relationship between Washington and Beijing would be placed in jeopardy if Taiwan in question is not handled with extreme care. This sentiment was echoed by Chinese foreign ministers. Translation: we got to take it over. We got to take it over. Got to take it over. But that's just continuing. Let's see what else. And there you go. That's the end. But this ain't nothing but trying to turn around. But this is Isaiah 47:1. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the tender and delicate. So come what sin does, meaning this is the judgment of, according to the Lord. This place is in decline. So sit down in the dust. Get low. Get in a desolate position. O virgin daughter of Babylon, O virgin daughter of Babylon. I mean, this place ain't never been attacked. It ain't never been invaded. It ain't never been looted. So what? Sit down on the ground. There is no throne. Ain't gonna be no more position of power. Ain't gonna be no more sitting, as the saying goes, high up on the hog, farting through silk. Living good. This place ain't gonna be called the no more tender and delicate. This place ain't gonna be looked at as the place to be no more. We already see it now. Let's see. I'm gonna jump down to verse 3. It says, "Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." So the Lord is gonna again expose this nation, expose all the wickedness. That's why it says, "Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, and thy shame shall be seen." It's basically like proverbially undressing a woman in public. When you start to snatch off her clothes, guess what happens? She go to covering up. Her nakedness gets seen. It's lucky. I don't know why I put a D on that. But anyway. But that's what happens. The Lord is showing the nakedness of this place. And when he says he's gonna take vengeance, meaning what's the Lord's vengeance? He's gonna judge Babylon. He's gonna judge this place. And he's not gonna meet thee as a man. See, he came as a man, preaching and teaching the truth, letting his people know to turn back to the Heavenly Father. He died so that we can be reconciled back to the Father. Because he put us away for a time because of our wicked, sinful doings. But now, the Lord said, I ain't going to meet you as a man. He coming back in his godhood, his power, his strength. And he finna come break Babylon like dishes. But let's continue. Let's go to the last point. This is hold on. Okay. This is Jeremiah 51. Verse 7. It says, "Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad." So this place has been a golden cup. This place has been a pimp cup in the Lord's hand. And these other nations have been drinking from that cup. And guess what? They become mad. They went crazy on the policies and the treaties and the philosophies and the beliefs and the traditions of this place. They even adopted into their own society. So now that they have become drunken on that. So now the nations are mad. They done went crazy with trying to be part of this place. Verse 8. It says, "Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed." So Babylon is suddenly destroyed. This place is suddenly fallen. We see a decline before our very eyes. And if it was possible, this place would have been turned around already, but it's not possible. So this place is fallen. It says again, "Babylon is suddenly fallen. Howl for her, take bombs." Perhaps if some kind of magical turnaround could happen, maybe this place can get healed. Verse 9. "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even unto the skies." So, if that was possible, this place could have gotten help. But nothing can save this place now. Nothing can save this place. So let this place what? Decline, let it fall, let it go. Abandon, jump ship, exit stage left. Go on about your way. Why? Because the punishment of this place has reached all the way up unto to the heavens. up to the sky. So the punishment of this place can't even be measured no more. We just know the Lord gonna come through and destroy. Exactly what he's gonna do, the intricacies, we know according to the scriptures. But the Lord finna come through. And these other nations are what? They're gonna walk away from Babylon. They're walking away now. They're cutting ties because they see that, okay, this is a problem. And this mirrors exactly what happened to Nero when he was ruling. He did everything to stay in power. He was fighting to stay in power. He was liked initially at first. But then, after a while, in his later years, he became to be hated. Was not President Babylon liked at first by many people? And now look, he is becoming to be hated. So now he's doing whatever he can to stay in power. History parallels. Like they say, history repeats. So there is nothing new under the sun. So yeah, if this place was to be turned around, it would have already happened if it was the Lord's will, but it's not. So we're going to see a further decline, whether you agree, whether you believe it or not. And if your hope is here in Babylon, America, well, guess what? Your hope is going to go down with Babylon, America. And with that, shalom.